pretty much every other tradition of Satanism that exists today came along after Anton LaVey. They may say they're thousands of years older, but it's not true, right? As far as we can tell, they're pretty much all invented after Anton LaVey. And so groups like the Satanic Temple borrowed a lot from Anton LaVey. Their politics are quite different. So Anton LaVey was a libertarian. He read lots of Ayn Rand. Satanic Temple are very progressive, very kind of they're not officially socialist in their policies, but many members of it are. And then you had groups who said, well, I actually think, why are we doing hex rituals? Why are we doing magic if there's not really a Satan? And so you had a group that came out of the Church of Satan called the Temple of Set. And they're in some ways much more like a traditional religion. They said there are supernatural forces. There is a being that hears us if we do these rituals, but it's not Satan. It's actually this entity that was known in Egypt as Set, the god of darkness. And they believed that the Hebrew word Satan is a corruption of Set. So in some ways, they're theistic Satanists. They're more kind of what people would imagine when they think of a Satanist, and they do practice magic and things like this. But for all of that, they're not criminal. They don't involve in criminal activity. And actually, the former high priest of the Temple of Set lives in Austin, and I had him come meet my class. And his day job was he works he basically works with incarcerated women. He works at a women's prison and helps them get their GEDs. And I said to him, some people might say that your job is pretty compassionate. And your job involves kind of helping people, and it doesn't really jive with the kind of, Nietzschean will to power rhetoric of your church, right? And his answer to that was kind of, well, we need to be on a fair playing field, and my students need to have a fair shot in order to compete, right? And so that's why I do this. So those are kind of some of the major groups. There are very nasty forms of Satanism out there, right? Serial killer Richard Ramirez, for example, he described himself as a Satanist. He was alone. He wasn't part of a community of Satanists, but as a religious studies scholar, when people say they're part of a religion, I pretty much take them at their word. So I don't think Satanists should be judged by Richard Ramirez in the same way I don't think Muslims should be judged by ISIS. But I still think that he counts. There is a group called the Order of the Nine Angles that has connections to neo-Nazism and has supported human sacrifice, and has basically said, if you're not doing human sacrifice, you can't call yourself a Satanist. They have not, as far as I've known, actually done a human sacrifice. There seem to be kind of edgelords in their basement. But this group has metastasized with the rise of sort of neo-Nazi movements in the last few years. And so there's been some very disturbing cases. So in my most recent book, there was a member of this group who was in the US military. He gave his location details and security details for his unit to Al-Qaeda, and basically said, come kill all these American soldiers, and this will be my human sacrifice, right? I am responsible for the deaths of these people, and it's a human sacrifice. And of course, the US military will intercept messages like that. So he was caught, and at his trial, his lawyer basically used the dumbass defense and said the Order of Nine Angles is such a stupid, pathetic religion that the fact that my client joined it shows he doesn't know anything, right? And you shouldn't judge him too harshly, right? And the judge said, I have read the rhetoric of the Order of Nine Angles, and the goal of human sacrifice for this group is ultimately to destroy society itself, so some new order can emerge with totally different morals. And your target here wasn't just your fellow soldiers, it was human civilization, right? Now, I will say one more thing. I mean, first of all, we shouldn't all worry about the Order of Nine Angles, right? This is mostly a bunch of, I think, white men whose moms didn't love them enough, probably, behind this, right? But I also think that, paradoxically, the kind of paranoid conspiracy theories about Satanism and what Satanists do inspired this group, right? In other words, they're not taking their cues from Anton LaVey. They said Anton LaVey was a silly old man in San Francisco. They're taking their cues from Christians saying, satanic conspiracy theories are everywhere and the Illuminati controls everything and they're deadly people and they do human sacrifice. So I think we should be cautious, right, when we kind of spread these rumors, lest we give rise to groups like the Order of Nine Angles. So they're out there, but the overwhelming majority of Satanists basically see Satan as their favorite fictional character, kind of in the way that I like Batman or something, right? And Batman can inspire you, even if you know that Batman is just a character and it's not real. So for them, Satan, and this is not the Satan of the Bible, this is the Satan of Milton and the Romantic poets. The values that it personifies are, self-determination, independence, never giving up, no matter how tough the odds are, etc. That's what Satan means to them, not the enemy of all mankind that it means to Christians. Yeah.